Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here, got another Master Duel video for you, coming at you with a new deck, well, a deck that's received new support from the latest pack, all-time fan favorite Blue Eyes White Dragon. So, I have decided to, as you saw, if you saw my pack opening video, poll for this stuff. I've seen a fair amount of people say that this deck is kind of until the Primite stuff comes out. This probably isn't worth even pulling for just yet, and I'm here to tell you that they are wrong. I don't think this deck is going to be like the new tier 1 threat or anything, but after messing around with this deck for a little bit and watching other people play it, I'm convinced this deck is, if not upper rogue, maybe even like tier 3. I think that it does actually have quite a bit of punch to it, even without Primite support. So, we are playing, of course, 3 of the new cards, Maiden of White, as well as Wishes for Eyes of Blue, which add a lot of much needed consistency to the deck. Also rocking a playset of the new Neo Kaiser Seahorse as well. It's certainly not an ideal opener, but it's not a bad card to have for the deck here. The combo line itself is actually really simple, and our end board doesn't look super impressive, but is a lot better than it might seem at a glance. Basically, our inboard is going to consist of 2 copies of Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon. This card can negate the effect or activations of cards that activate in the graveyard. Well, the effect of a card that activates in the graveyard. I don't know why I said it that way. That's also a soft once per turn, so having multiple copies does mean you can use both. More than that, though, you can use the quick effect to summon any light dragon synchro monster from your extra deck in defense position. Of course, your first and primary target is going to be the Blue Eyes Ultimate Spirit Dragon, which has an Omni negate effect, but Crimson Dragon is also a light dragon synchro monster, meaning that you can also summon Crimson Dragon with your second Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon, and then go to something like Sifir or Cosmic Blazar Dragon. We are playing a couple of the Blue Eyes Synchros. These are part of our, or not Synchros, Fusions rather. These are part of our combo lines. Basically, with the graveyard effect of Wishes for Eyes of Blue, we can equip one of our monsters with Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate, which will let us summon the Blue Eyes Tyrant Dragon. And the cool thing about Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate is that it actually has a graveyard effect that negates and destroys any effect that targets a Blue Eyes monster. You also set that up on turn 1 as well. And in addition to the stuff that you regularly set up on your turn 1 end board, we have a bunch of other options too as well. If you open, you know, more than just one starter. You could, for example, if you open Wishes for Eyes of Blue, which you would normally set off True Light, you can set Majesty of the White Dragons instead, which will basically just let you destroy 2 cards in your opponent's field. Doesn't target either, so very, very good effect. I am also rocking a single copy of Blue Eyes Jet Dragon. A lot of people were pretty quick to point out in my pack opening video when I said, oh yeah, and I'll grab 3 of each of the, or 3 of the Blue Eyes Structure deck, that you don't super need the Blue Eyes Structure deck. Actually, you don't play a lot of the older support, but I do like having a single copy of Jet Dragon in the deck here, because while a lot of the time you will, for example, with Neo Kaiser Seahorse, just send a Blue Eyes, you also have the option to send the Jet Dragon as well. Pure Reese Map offers a little bit more consistency for something like Sage with Eyes of Blue. Basically, we have, I think, 9 1.5 card starters here. It's 1.5 card, of course, because the Wishes does require a discard, but Sage with Eyes of Blue, Maiden of White, as well as Wishes for Eyes of Blue are all 1 card starters in their own right. So with 9 of those, as well as the 2 Pure Reese Map to search, you know, our level 1 tuners, that's 11. That's a very respectable amount of starters in this format. And as you can see, this deck has a ton of room to play hand traps. Would be playing Joel and Lockbird, but I actually do prefer the effect veilers here because being level 1 light spellcaster tuners, they are actually searchable off of Sage with Eyes of Blue. That's yet another piece of disruption that you can get on turn 1. You can actually search an effect veiler. So I'm here to say don't sleep on this list at all, or not this list in particular, but this deck in general. Don't sleep on Blue Eyes. Like, yeah, Primite's not out, but this deck can absolutely keep up with the meta, which I'm going to show you here as we're going to go into 3 games where we go second every single game. It's going to be another one of those videos. Lose every coin flip, win every game anyway. So, One change I will say real quick before we go into the games here, I would make to the extra deck. You could play a third Blue-Eyes Spirit Dragon, and in grind games that certainly would come up, but I actually regret not playing a Bestial Dissipator. I think I'm going to take out the Relinquished Anima, or maybe even SP Little Knight, and put in Bestial Dissipator, because the Wishes for Eyes of Blue Dragon locks you, as does... what is the other one that does? I think... oh, no, sorry, Roar. Excuse me, Roar for the Blue-Eyed Dragons is what Dragon locks you. Spirit also Dragon locks you, but only while it's in play. But I have it a couple of times where I want to go make a level 10 after activating the spell, only to realize, oops, I'm Dragon locked. So, plus also, it would provide an option for Crimson Dragon to Baron, but I don't really expect that to ever come up. It's mostly just to have a 10 to summon while Dragon locked. So far, I think that's the major change I would make to the list. If I had a third Blue-Eyes Spirit Dragon, I'd probably be playing that. And again, a lot of these links aren't necessary. You can actually just take out Anima and SP Little Knight, or even Typhone if you really want to, and you'd be fine. But yeah, that's it for the list. That's all I've got to say about it. Why don't we break it down card by card, and then, of course, we'll watch all these games where we are going to be playing going second. So, we are on 2 copies of Blue-Eyes White Dragon, 3 Effect Veiler, 3 Sage with Eyes of Blue, 3 Maiden of White, 2 Maxi, 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 3 Mulch Army Fuelos, 3 Neo Kaiser Seahorse, 1 Bestial Magnum Hut, 1 Blue-Eyes Jet Dragon, 1 Nibiru the Primal Being, 2 Piri-Rees Map, 3 Wishes for Eyes of Blue, 1 Roar of the Blue-Eyed Dragons, 1 Mausoleum of White, 2 Call by the Grave, 1 Cross-Out Designator, 3 Infinite Impermanence, 1 Majesty of the White Dragons, and finally 1 True Light. And that's going to be our main deck. For the extra, we're on 1 Blue-Eyes Tyrant Dragon, 1 Neo Blue-Eyes Ultimate Dragon, 2 Blue-Eyes Spirit Dragon, 1 Baron de Fleur, 1 Stardust Saphir Divine Dragon, 1 Cosmic Blazar Dragon, 1 Crimson Dragon, 1 Blue-Eyes Ultimate Spirit Dragon, 1 Super Star Slayer Typhone Sky Crisis, 1 Relinquished Anima, 2 Spirit with Eyes of Blue, 1 Heretic Seal of the Heavenly Spheres, and finally 1 SP Little Knight. It's going to do it for our list. Let's check out these games. Okay, so I figure what better deck to start off against than the big bad of the format, Fiendsmith Azamina Snake Eye. Although, you know, I honestly do think the Millennium variant's probably just slightly better. Here we're going second. We got a couple of pretty good hand traps to help us with that. As mentioned before, we're going to be going second for all these games here. Opponent's going to lead with the Diabellstar, activating to set the Deception. You're probably wondering why I haven't fired off Fuelos or Maxi yet. This is actually something I talked about in a recent video against the same deck, actually, as an example. I much prefer to use my Maxi/Fuelos after my opponent has committed to summoning a card, especially if I already opened with a starter. The idea here being, like, you might be thinking, oh, but you missed out on the summon for the Diabellstar off Maxi. That's why you always shotgun. It's like, yeah, I could have done that, but then my opponent gets to just completely play around the fact that I showed them I have Maxi and Fuelos. Maybe they keep their own Fuelos in their hand and they don't play anything. Maybe they go Howled Azamina straight into Ilia Sylvia and just set like an Imperm or something. There are a lot of situations where you would much rather be doing Maxi and or Fuelos in this kind of scenario than shotgunning it. I maintain that shotgunning, unless you have nothing in hand and are super desperate for draws, is almost never correct. Almost never correct. People kind of act like shotgunning Maxi is right 50% of the time, like it's 50-50. And I'm not even exaggerating, I think shotgunning Maxi is right maybe 5% of the time. That's not, again, not to say that you shouldn't ever be doing it, but that you should be much more reserved about doing it than you probably are. And of course, as always, if we have both Fuelos and Maxi, we're going to want to play Fuelos first. That way the Maxi doesn't get eaten by the Ash Blossom or, you know, Call by our Crossout. Opponent's got Murashilago. Our first draw is Veiler, which was super lucky because our opponent's follow-up card is going to be Droll and Lockbird, meaning that if I didn't get a disruption on this one draw, my opponent would have probably been able to go... Well, they wouldn't have been able to go full combo here. Didn't they just play themselves? Well, I guess it's because I used Veiler, right? Because they needed this search off the Murashilago. Yeah, it's because I used Veiler. If I hadn't Veiler, they probably wouldn't have Drolled just yet. They would have wanted this search to go through. And then... I think after that point, actually, you can just draw on my next draw. But, okay, that makes sense. Why, if I Veiler the Murashilago, you're just going to be like, okay, draw you for no more draws. They're going to link it to Moon of Closed Heaven before adding back Howard Azamita, but they can't summon Ilya Sylvia because they have no more Sinful Spoils cards. And going into Fiendsmith stuff doesn't really mean anything because now they only have the one body on board. And again, this is like why you want to be holding your Maxian Fuelos. Look how few resources my opponent has after I didn't shotgun those, right? They have one lowly engraver on the field and a Howled Azamina in hand and nothing else. They have no realistic hope of comeback here. Whereas again, looking at their hand, like look at this. If I had just not, or if I had shotgunned Maxian Fuelos, they could have just held on to Fuelos plus Droll, not played anything. Or optionally, they could have set call by, use Deception to set up Ilya Sylvia, giving me like one draw, and then had Droll still, right? I guess they would have used call by still on my hand traps, but still, they would have had a lot more options to play with, knowing what I was going to fire off with my hand traps as opposed to what I waited for it. I can't stress that enough, because every time I bring this up, people always push back and they're like, well, sometimes it's right. Again, I'm here to tell you it's right maybe 5% of the time. It's not a 50-50 thing. I don't think it's even close. We're going to lead with Sage, add Maiden. Maiden F to set up True Light. True Light here is going to set the Wishes for Eyes of Blue. So even though we're going second, I'm going to kind of show you a turn 1 combo line anyway. I probably shouldn't have discarded the Neo Kaiser Seahorse here, but I wanted to hold on to Ash Blossom just in case I couldn't OTK and wanted more disruption on their turn. And Mausoleum of White is needed for combo stuff, so that's why I pitched Neo Kaiser Seahorse here. I think I might have been able to go for lethal potentially, but I don't know actually. The more I think about it, the less sure I am of that. Alright, so there goes the Graveyard Effect of Wishes is what let us equip the Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate there. And then Blue Eyes Tyrant can be summoned by tributing a Blue Eyes White Dragon equipped with a fusion monster. So yeah, that's why we're able to summon that here. Bringing out Blue Eyes, and then at this point we can activate the Mausoleum effect, chain Maiden of White. Maiden of White's effect is going to summon the Sage with Eyes of Blue, and then Mausoleum dumps our other Blue Eyes. So normally this is where you would synchro into your double Spirit Dragon, then pass if you were on turn 1. Here, of course, it's turn 2, so I'm going to go into battle phase first, deal a good bit of damage, and then we're going to go into our 2 Blue Eyes Spirit Dragons. So we know that they have Howled Azamina in hand and Deception face down, but I mean, as you can see, like, the turn 1 combo line sets up right off the bat 2 Graveyard Effect negates and an onboard Monster Effect negate, which is actually a fair bit, and that's not even to count the targeting negate and destroy as well. But remember that even beyond all of these kind of specific negates, of which we already have 4, we can already go into an Omni negate off Spirit Dragon number 1, and then Crimson Dragon into another negate off Spirit Dragon number 2, for a total of, I believe, 6 negates here? Off the turn 1, or off the 1-card combo, which is, you know, when you think about the rest of the decks in the meta, putting up 6 negates off of 1 card in a deck where you have 12 1-card starters and can play like almost 15 hand traps, if not more, I mean, that's what, you know, decks nowadays need to be able to do. Which is all to say that I really do think that Blue Eyes is capable of holding its own here in this meta. Gonna Valor the Unicorn here so that it doesn't extra deck rip me, take my Blue Eyes Ultimate Spirit Dragon or something. And then we have an Ash Blossom for our opponent's second Murashilago. I've mentioned this before in Snake Eye videos, but if all you have is like 1 Valor or Imperm and Ash Blossom against a Snake Eye deck, you should just use it against Murashilago. They'll probably be able to play through 1 negate, but very occasionally that will not be the case. Okay, so here we're going to try to banish one of my Spirit Dragons. Cheating SP on the other one. I'm going to let that go, because I don't really care about that. I'm just going to get that Spirit Dragon back during the end phase anyway. Alright. Oh, you might be wondering why didn't True Light blow up my board? That's because SP sent from the Spell Trap Zone to the graveyard, and SP Little Knight banished it. So, yeah, I wasn't really concerned about that. And yeah, they can keep adding back Howled Azamina, but again, without a Deception or a Sinful Spoils card, it's not, you know, doesn't do anything. Here I'm not going to use the Spirit Dragon, I'll use my Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate effect, because this will get the Engraver body off the board, as well as negating the effect. And then during end phase, I'll simply get my Spirit Dragon back. Oh yeah, also during end phase, I'll go for Crimson Dragon into Siphier here, because my opponent won't be able to respond with SP Little Knight, because of course they've already used her effect this turn. And yeah, that's the other cool thing about the Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon, is that both Siphier and the Spirit Dragon itself have ways to... Well, the Spirit Dragon will still get destroyed, the Ultimate Spirit Dragon, but Siphier actually saves your monster from being destroyed, so that's cool. And there we have it. Alright, there is our first game against Fiendsmith Azamina Snake Eye. Again, not only showing what this deck is capable of in terms of comboing, but how it can keep up with the meta, and as always, I love to throw in a little bit of info about how to use hand traps effectively in there as well. So, yeah, I think that game was a very good first one there. But of course, we still have a couple more. Let's take a look at those. Alright, for this game, we're going to be up against Branded here. Going second against Branded. And don't worry, this time we don't open, I'm pretty sure we don't open multiple, like, Maxi/Furlos. Okay, it's just the one Maxi. With a couple of Veilers and Magnum Hut here as well. Normal summon Aluber, I'll definitely fire off a Veiler here. Even if I only had one Veiler and no other hand traps, I think I would use that here against Aluber, because you would just want to high roll and hope they don't get access to Branded Fusion. Looks like they have a Foolish Barrel, and they're going to use it on Mercourier before going Saronir to banish the Mercourier. Kind of considered chaining Magnum Hut, but it's like, I don't really care if they don't have... Like, I don't really care if they have a Saronir on board. That's not the issue. The issue is Mercourier getting banished for the search. Ooh, Frulos off the Maxi is a pretty good draw here, but if I remember right, I don't even really get a chance to use it, because my opponent's just going to pass here pretty soon. Using Albion to send the Retribution. End phase, I'll summon my Magnum Hut, banishing Veiler, and then I'll search up a Neo Kaiser Seahorse for my deck to act as an extender. Because I already have Wishes for Eyes of Blue as a, you know, and Sage, we just drew that as well. I'm going to lead with Wishes and just see if they have an Ash Blossom. I will say that is... The biggest weakness of this deck is Ash Blossom on Wishes, like, always sucks. I guess in a way it's almost the Branded Fusion of our deck, right? Where, like, yeah, sometimes you can make plays anyway, but it really sucks. Okay, this is actually one of those situations where I could have gone for a Baron de Fleur, or rather a Bestial Dissipator here, if I had it in my extra deck. Because I was going to make Baron by going Neo Kaiser plus Magnum Hut there, but then I was like, oh yeah, I'm Dragon Locked, that's right. But it's all good, we can just use Neo Kaiser Seahorse to make Spirit, and then we can use it to dump the Jet Dragon. Remember that Jet Dragon can summon itself from hand or graveyard when one of your cards is destroyed by a card effect, so that's pretty nice. Or battle, actually, as well. I think Jet Dragon is a good card. I think it's worth having a single copy in the deck for sure. It's not even bad to draw because it can summon itself from the hand. Alright, so here we got the Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon, Mausoleum of White F, Chaining Maiden of White. I mean, as you can see, the gameplay loop for Blue Eyes is fairly simple, right? Not like too much that's too complicated going on here. Moving to battle phase, I'm going to be just shy of lethal here. The Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon first effect is so good against Branded. Oh my god. Like, against a lot of decks, it's kind of situational. Like, not even just deck to deck, but even game to game, how good it is. But against Branded, oh my god, having two Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon, I feel like the graveyard negate effect of those alone would be enough to stop your opponent from doing anything. And here we have two extra dragon bodies left over, so I can just go into a Hieratic Seal, as well as my two Spirit Dragon. Remember, again, the Spirit Dragon don't just represent those graveyard negates, but also Ultimate Spirit Dragon, which is an Omni, plus Crimson Dragon into Siphier, which is another monster negate, and blows up any card in the field, and stops your monsters from being destroyed by the Spirit Dragon end phase effect. So, alright, there is our second game. We got one more to show off before we finish off here. Let's go into that one. And our final opponent is going to be on Tearlament. Once again, of course, we are going to be going second this game. Probably just going to open Maxi again. No, we didn't. Okay, we got Ash Blossom double Imperm this time, but that certainly is more than enough, of course. I mean, again, is it any real surprise that this deck is winning so many going second games when you have so much room for hand traps and still playing 12 one-card starters? It almost reminds me of Centurion a little bit in that regard. Now here, I will say, if I only had one Imperm against Tier Limit, I wouldn't use it necessarily on Rhinoheart. I'd probably hold it for Kikolos. But given that I had double Imperm and Ash Blossom here, I think it's acceptable, of course, to fire off one of them right off the bat. If one of these face-down cards is like Solyak, I would much rather they send a Rhinoheart than a Kikolos here. So, draw for turn, finding Neo Kaiser Seahorse, but we already have the Wishes in hand as well. Going for Roar of the Blue-Eyed Dragon, and Sage. Sage F to add Maiden in white, or of white, rather. Maiden of white discard to place the True Light face up. Yeah, even though I didn't have any targets left for the True Light, I think we do still need to do that in order to get the Maiden of White graveyard effect. Here they have a call by for the Maiden of White, but that's fine. It's not that big of a deal. Alright, special summoning Neo Kaiser Seahorse. It can actually bump up the level of one of your tuners by 1. And again, this was another situation where I was like, wait, why can't I make Baron? Oh yeah, Dragon locked. So this is another situation where I think I probably would have gone for Bestial Dissipator if I had the ability to. I forgot they conceded that early. Because I gotta be real with you, I'm not super sure what I was gonna do from that point forward. Because I wouldn't have been able to make a Spirit Dragon because I bumped up the level of my tuner. I would have had to have... Well, they call by the Maiden of White. I would have had to have linked off the Sage and then brought it back. Could I have even done that? No, because Maiden of White is usually how you bring it back. So I would have been looking at a very mediocre end board. Yeah, I totally should have remembered that Dragon Lock. And I think my opponent did concede early here as a result. But I don't blame them, because that's something about the Blue Eyes deck that somebody who probably hasn't played it yet wouldn't know. But Tier Limits is another deck where the Spirit Dragon's first effect is actually super duper good. So, anyway. Yeah, that's going to do it for this list. I had a ton of fun playing Blue Eyes here, more than I thought I would. So I'm super down to play it again. If you really, really want to see me play more Blue Eyes, let me know in the comments below. I will be happy to oblige. But that's going to do it for now. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. A great way to support the channel. Thank you very much. But yeah, like I said, that'll do it. So let's move on now to our outro. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Just want to give you a huge thanks for watching all the way to the very end of the video. Believe it or not, that is actually one of the best ways that you can support the channel, is by watching the videos in their entirety. But there are many ways in which you can support the channel if you are so interested. The names that you're seeing on screen here, I gotta give an extra special thanks to, because these are people who have chosen to either become a member on YouTube, which if you're interested you can do as well via the join button next to the subscribe button down there, or have signed up over on Patreon and become members there. Link to that is going to be in the description below. Without the support that is being offered by, again, all the people that you're seeing on screen right here, I would not be able to take the time to dedicate to uploading daily YouTube videos. So thank you so very much. But there are also other ways you can support as well. Again, link to the description below. If you like my deck tracker that you'll see in a lot of my videos, the Untapped Companion, you can download that for free, and if you use my affiliate link down there, then that also goes a long way towards supporting the channel. That's again free. So is subscribing here on YouTube. That's also free and a huge way to support. You can also check out Twitch, once again linked in the description below. Following and subscribing over there will not only support as well, but also give you notifications of when I go live if you want to catch some of the live streams. But really, no matter how you choose to support, it all adds up and it all definitely means the world. So thank you, each and every one of you. For now, this is Hexlex. I'm going to be signing out. But more than that, I'm hoping that you have a fantastic day.